This class is in memory of Jared Orchen, and today we're going to learn from the book of Psalms. First, we'll give a little overview about the book of Psalms. When was the prayer book put together?
During the Second Temple.
The beginning of the prayer book was the Second Temple. The beginning of the Second Temple was the people of the Great Assembly, and they put together the Amidah, right? That's how it started. Amidah was small prayer, and over the years the prayer book got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. What Jews did before the prayer book? How they pray to God? Let's say Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, Jews came to the temple. They were standing there outside and waiting to see that the Kohen Gadol is doing this, and then they heard news what's going on inside, and the Kohen, they waited until the red turned white, and it was exciting. But the Jew is living in Tzfat. Yom Kippur, he has to fast all day, right? What is he doing? He reads from the Torah reading, showing, takes him a half hour. Now what?
From the Psalms.
Oh, the Psalms was the original prayer book. The book of Psalms was the original prayer book. Really, if you look in the prayer book, in the notes, in the bottom, most of the prayer book is from the book of Psalms. This is the original prayer book. Before prayer book came to the world, that was it. Then Jews can always say, it's always saying Psalms. Before it was an original organized prayer book. That's what they prayed. Now, there are many chapters in the prayer books who are describing certain situations in a person's life. There is a chapter in the book of Psalms, number 78, who describes the whole story of the Exodus from Egypt. And number 106, I think. And then there is a chapter who describes, it talks about waking up in the morning. There is a chapter who talks about going to sleep. There is different chapters who speak about different things. Then there's a chapter about confessing for your sins, who is more related to Yom Kippur. There is almost a chapter, you can find in the book of Psalms, chapters who are relating to every situation.
Is there any type of organizational structure to the Psalms?
Organizational structure by King David. Kind of. In the beginning, it's more he himself. Now, the book of Psalms, according to the Talmud, is a collection compiled of prayers from 10 great people. Abraham, Moses, Asaph, Yeduthun, the sons of Korach, all together. But the majority was written and said by King David, for different occasions. Now, King David had a very hard life. And because he had a very hard life, his Psalms can connect to, every Jew can connect to the book of Psalms. You don't have to be a genius. You don't, because if you're in a good mood, you want to thank God, King David has chapters that thank God. If you're in a stressful situation, King David was in many stressful situations and he never lost his faith in God and he's praying to God. People can find everything in the book of Psalms. That's why the book of Psalms became so endeared to the Jewish people. And according to the Hasidic teachings, to recite the book of Psalms is something that opens the gates of heaven anytime. There is nothing more powerful than reciting Psalms. In the good old days, Jews, we used to drive an horse and a wagon, right? Horse and buggy. They couldn't listen to the radio, right? What they did during the traveling? They knew Psalms by heart, and they used to recite Psalms by heart. Jews from all walks of life knew many chapters from the book of Psalms by heart. And even non-Jews embraced it because it's such a powerful prayer book. That was the original one. There is even, according to Medrash, there is the Shir HaMa'alot. There are certain chapters that were said, or at least somehow said by Jacob, of our forefather, the 15 Shir HaMa'alot. That's what he used to say. There is, and And there is many stories and many connections to many about the book of Psalms. We'll open the first chapter, and we'll go little by little. We'll see what we can make of it. The book of Psalms is 150 chapters, divided to the 5 books of Moses. It's parallel to the 5 books of Moses. There is 5 books in the book of Psalms. The 150 chapters are divided into 5 books. Sefer Rishon, the first book, the second book, the third book, the fourth book, the fifth book. And it's written that King David, the Medrash says, started with a word that where Moses left off, King David began. Moses finished with the word Ashrecha Israel. Praised are you, Israel. Almost like in the last lines from the book of Deuteronomy. King David started the word Ashrei Aish. Fortunate is the man. King David picked up where Moses left off. To a point, King David is a continuation of Moses. That's how we look on the book of Psalms. As powerful as this.
Is that why the Ashrei prayer starts with Ashrei? Is that connected
That's
to
why
connection?
Ashrei is so favored, because it's the same word. Even Ashrei is by the end of the book of Psalms. But you're right. Moses represents Torah. King David represents prayers. Torah is given from God to us. Prayers is from us to God. That King David and Moses are the two opposites. If you want, there is Abraham, Moses, and King David. Abraham represents kindness, chesed. The world stands on 3 pillars: Torah, Avodah, and Gemilut Chasadim. Studying of the Torah, prayers, and good deeds. Abraham is good deeds, chesed. Abraham was known as we learn now in the Parshas. Abraham was the epitome of kindness, helping everyone, caring for everyone, sharing, welcoming guests, Arabs, he did not from anyone, begged them to come to his house, everybody. Moses represents Torah. He brought down the Torah to the Jewish people, and King David gave us the book of Psalms, gave us the gift of prayer. Until King David, a person didn't have the words to express himself in praying. Yeah, there is short prayers in the Bible. Moses prayed, Jacob prayed, right? Jacob prayed, Katonti, prayed to God, he should save him from Esau. Moses prayed to cure his sister Miriam. There is other in between little prayers here, a line there. But prayers was mainly a book of laws. Stories how to live our life. The gift of prayer gave us King David. There is a story about the Alter Rebbe, the first Chabad Rebbe. He said he turned 18 years old, he had a dilemma. At that time there were two centers, great centers of Judaism in Russia. That was Vilna, with the Vilna Gaon was a great scholar in Torah, and there was in Mezrich, where the Maggid of Mezrich, the Hasidic Rebbe, was the disciple of the Baal Shem Tov, who was the founder of the Hasidic movement. And he had a dilemma, should he go to Vilna or should he go to Mezrich? That he said to himself, learning I know already a little bit, but davening I need to learn how to pray. That he went to Mezrich. That a Jew must have the two sides in him. It's the give and take. It's what the Torah comes from heaven to us, and what the prayer comes from God, from us to heaven. Every Shabbat we have the combination. We pray and we read Torah. That's a conversation with God. What we tell God and what God tells us. Reading the Torah is what God tells us. Prayers is what we tell God. That's what the book of Psalms is. The book of Psalms is a part of the Bible. That's the prayer within the Torah, so to speak. You understand what I'm saying? Or that's the prayer side of the Torah. Then we will not read every line, obviously, because it will take forever. But it starts with the book of Psalms starts with fortunate is the man who walks in who is. Let's maybe read the first paragraph.
Before you do that, I see that it says Sunday on top of here.
The book of Psalms is also divided not only to 5 books like 5 books of Moses. It's divided to 7 days of the week. Divided 7 days of the week. Not only this, it's divided to 30 days of the month. Some people will say every day of the week, one apart. In every week, they'll finish the book of Psalms. Others will say Chabad custom is to divide it into 30 days. And you see on the side day 1, on the side here, small, day 1. Day 1 is until page 15, you'll see day 2. And page 21 is day 3, and so on and on. 30 days. Then the custom in Chabad is to read it every day, like if it's under the 50 chapters, divide it into 30 days. How much is it? 5 around, sometimes more, sometimes less, depends on the size. But that's but you finish it in 1 month. We have also a custom to recite the whole book of Psalms in the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh, before the beginning of the new month. It's Shabbos and it's called Shabbos and Vochim, the Shabbos that we bless the new month. That the custom is before the service, we have to finish the whole book of Psalms.
Does everybody, how long does it take?
To me, 2 hours. Some people do it in an hour and a half.
Okay.
It takes a long time. By the end of it, you're really tired.
I was also going to say, it says Sunday, is that also like the first day of creation, or not any relation there? Or just the first
No,
day?
the first day of the week.
First day of the week. Okay.
Yeah. Now, as we will dwell into it, we'll see how much strength we can draw from the book of Psalms. In the beginning, I thought to give only one class about that, but maybe we will do more than that. We'll see how it goes. I think there is much richness than I thought in the beginning. I mean, that I was planning to do. Read it.
Fortunate is the man that has not walked in the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of the sinners, nor sat in the company of scoffers. Rather, his desire is in the Torah of the Lord, and in his Torah he meditates day and night.
Let's stop right here. In the beginning, it's called the Torah of the Lord, Torat Hashem, and later it's called Torato. Right? Where is it?
His Torah.
His Torah. Where is it?
Right after.
Number 2, right?
2.
Rather, his desire is in the Torah of the Lord, and in his Torah he meditates. That when you start to learn Torah, it's the Torah of Hashem. When you learn it, it becomes your Torah. You own it. You work on it, you learn it, it becomes a part of you, it becomes your Torah. And that's an amazing gift that God gives us, that the Torah of Hashem becomes our Torah. After we learn it and after we slave on it. That's the idea. And he says you will learn Torah day and night. Because a Jew has to learn Torah day and night. Now we have to go to work. What should we do? If we have to learn Torah day and night, how are we going to do this? Therefore, we have the Shema. We say the Shema in the morning. Shema is from the 5 books of Moses, from the Bible. Reading the Shema is fulfilling the mitzvah of learning Torah day and night. That's what it's all about. Continue.
He shall be like a tree planted by streams of water, that yields its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither. And all that he does shall prosper. Not so the wicked, rather they are like the chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not endure in judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord minds the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked will perish.
Okay, that we know what will happen to the wicked now.
Again, it seems
Yeah.
like there are 2 extremes, though. There's the righteous or the wicked, but I would say,
No in the middle?
yeah, where's the middle there?
For this you have to be a chassid. Really, until the book of the Tanya came around, people had a problem. Where am I in this business? But the Alter Rebbe explained that as long as you are in the right direction, the path of the righteous, you don't have to be righteous. You have to go on this path, in this direction. You know the difference between somebody who gets lost, then he makes a U-turn. That's the beginning of the right direction. Though he's not yet in his destination, but he's in the beginning, but he's in the right direction. That's what it's all about. It's not about being righteous, it's about going in the righteous path.
Can we look at least the biblical text, just simply talking in the extremes? I mean, if you're just going to simply talk in polar opposites.
Yeah, it's in general, even in all the prophets you see, they are talking a very in extreme way. Because the prophet were here to shake us up. Not to say, oh, everybody's so nice, you're so cute, I love you. Don't need the prophet for this. The prophet is here to wake up the people. Therefore, the prophets are very harsh. More than Moses even. Moses is also not so nice and dandy always. But the prophets are even harsher, you're right. Let's continue. You want to read chapter 2?
Why do nations gather and people speak futility? The kings of the earth rise up, and rulers conspire together against the Lord and against his anointed.
And I guess who is his anointed?
David here.
David and the Jewish people. Basically, why are the nations of the world gathering together and speaking against the Jewish people? What do you want from us? Go ahead.
Let us sever their cords and cast their ropes from upon us. He who sits in heaven laughs. My master mocks them.
He who sits in heaven laughs. We all get worried. We read the news. Oh, yo, this guy said this and the other guy said this. God is not afraid of all of this. God laughs at it. Nothing to be impressed. The future of the Jewish people, the destiny of the Jewish people is not shaped by what the nations of the world say. It's shaped by our relationship with God. Therefore, God says, why are you so worried about it? Nothing to be worried about what the world says. This is laughable. Yoshev Bashamayim Mischak. The one who sits in heaven makes fun of it. He's laughing from it because they don't decide the future of the Jewish people. Continue.
Then he speaks to them in his anger and terrifies them in his wrath. It is I who have anointed my king upon Zion, my holy mountain. I am obligated to declare, the Lord said to me, you are my son. I have this day begotten you.
Today I begat you, I gave you birth to you. That's like your birthday today. There is one of the point that you're talking about a birthday. Ani hayom yeladiticha. According to the Medrash, King David said it when he was bar mitzvah. This prayer.
Question about this, again, many levels of the anointed here. I mean, we've got King David at one level. There's a messianic king.
Moshiach, sure. Yeah.
That's interpreted as well. To be begotten, though, is not a supernatural thing. It's a metaphorical thing.
Begat, I don't know what this means in English. Ani hayom yeladiticha means, oh, God gave me birth. It doesn't mean that God literally gave him birth. That he was born, that God gave him birth. God gave him life.
I can tell Christians really take off
Oh,
on this line.
from this? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that's where
Really?
they're getting supernatural birth. And
No. It means that he was speaking on his birthday. Just his regular birthday. To be born to a mother and father, that's the achievement. That's the goal. God doesn't want angels on earth. God wants people who are born to mothers and fathers who can achieve spirituality. Talking about angels, then there's no achievement there. Somebody was not born to a regular human being. Then what's the greatness that he achieved great goal? You understand what I'm saying? It's when you are a regular human being and still achieve the greatness. That's something you can be an example to other people. That's what it is.
Why in the Psalms do we see so many messianic references, at least? And we've got King David in context, clearly.
Because from King David comes Moshiach.
Yeah, but our Midrashim really...
Because from King David comes Moshiach. Yeah, exactly. That's why, absolutely.
Well, I gotta just, you don't have to answer this, but I just, the prayer book in the Amida service, it talks the first part of it about and God will resurrect the dead, etc.
Yes.
Now that was, you're saying, was from the Great Assembly, let's say, like 2,000 years ago, whatever. But that's not in the Torah anywhere we talked about.
In the 5 books of Moses, it's not. In other parts of the Bible, there is. In the 5 books of Moses, it's not.
Right, okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Ask of me, and I will make the nations your inheritance, and the ends of the earth your possession. Smash them with the rod of iron, shatter them like a potter's vessel. Now be wise, you kings, be disciplined, you rulers of the earth. Serve the Lord with awe, and rejoice with trembling. Yearn for purity, lest he become angry.
Look what the here it says, serve the Lord with awe, right? Ivdu is Hashem be'iro. You remember another line, Mark? Here it says, serve the Lord with awe.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Serve
with
the
the
Lord
angels.
with
We're
what?
talking about the angels.
No angels.
Yira is also fear.
Here it's written, Ivdu is Hashem be'iro. When we say something the opposite, serve God with
Love.
no. Say it in the prayers every day. Sure. Yivdu es Hashem.
Oh, you're talking about like in the Mida?
With their heart and
No,
soul. With their heart and
no.
soul. The Shema.
No.
Say it with joy.
With joy.
Yeah, joy.
Yivdu es Hashem besimcha. Boy lefono v'nono. It's also in the book of Psalms. I don't remember which chapter is this. Give me a minute. I'll find it. Can we take a prayer book? Would you mind to bring a prayer book? Yivdu es Hashem besimcha. Eretz rit nifdu es Hashem be'iro. Then what should we do? Should we serve God with joy or with fear? With both. What should be the main thing?
Joy.
Yivdu es Hashem besimcha. We read right after Baruch She'amar. We say Yivdu es Hashem besimcha. Chapter 100. In number 2, he says serve God with joy, with fear. In number 100, he says serve God with joy. Maybe we have to, page 121,
Yeah. Serve the Lord with joy.
serve the Lord with joy. Then what should we do?
Come
Should we
before
serve?
him in exaltation.
Yeah, then what do we have to do, yeah.
You can do what it says.
It's like everything in Judaism. It's always you're pulled in two different directions.
You're right. But the
It's-
more important to serve God with joy. Fear of God means more respect of God. If you don't have joy, you're a dead person. Then it's over. That's the number one. Fear of God can come, respect of God can come when you are alive and you're excited. Then we tell you, remember, you have to have also fear. It's not enough to have love of God. But if you don't have joy, there's nobody to love. But it's literally a contradiction from the two in the book of Psalms itself, from chapter 2 to chapter 100.
That's why Teddy, our great philosopher, had two hands.
Exactly.
On the one hand, on the other hand.
Exactly, twins. This is the end of chapter 2. Now we'll begin to read chapter 3. And we'll see something very interesting. You want to read? Mark?
A psalm by David when he fled from Absalom, his son. Lord, now how numerous are your oppressors? Many rise up against me.
Look what's
Many-
going on here.
Right.
In chapter 2, he speaks about the enemies, the world who is against the Jews who want to tear us apart. What is his reaction?
God's
Who
laughing.
cares? We laugh at them. Where begins the problem?
The
Lord,
family.
in my own family.
Jew.
Avshalom is fighting
Jew.
with me. When there is war, when the Jews are united, the whole world can be against them. It's nothing. Nobody's afraid of it. But when there is fighting within the Jewish people, that's the problem. He's running away from his son Avshalom. Can you imagine what kind of a tragedy this is? But it's reflecting on all of us. Then we should never be worried about the world. We should worry about us. When we are united, the world cannot do anything to us. And then we are eating each other alive. That's what the problem is. Then that gives the cracks for the world to go in. The enemies are looking for a place where there is division between the Jews, and then they stack the footing. And that's the contrast between chapter 2 and chapter 3 is unbelievable. Here is lamenting. Go ahead.
Many say of my soul, there is no salvation for him from Hashem ever. But you, Lord, are a shield for me, my glory, the one who raises my head. With my voice I called to the Lord, and he answered me from his mountain, holy mountain, Slichah. I lie down and sleep. I wake, for the Lord sustain me. I did not.
I
fear.
lie down and sleep and I wake. That's to a point. This chapter is before you go to sleep. In the days there was no prayer book, so to speak, they would say chapter 3.
What does the word Selah mean?
Selah means forever.
I saw this once on the girls' license plate.
Selah, yeah, you're right. He said later, in the end of this chapter, he translates the word Selah as forever. But Selah could also mean strong. It's interesting that here he doesn't translate it, and later he translates forever. Selah, Netzach, Vod, there's 3 expressions forever. Okay,
I lie down and sleep. I wait for the Lord to sustain me. I do not fear the myriad of people that have aligned themselves all around me. Rise, O Lord, deliver me, my God. For you struck all my enemies on the cheek. You smashed the teeth of the wicked. Deliverance is the Lord's. May your blessings be upon your people forever.
This is in the Myrif prayers.
Not really.
Well,
The last line.
the
Hashem,
last
Hashem,
line.
Yeshua, Allah b'chosech oselo. Yeah, this is in the Ma'ariv prayer. As I said in the beginning, the whole prayer book is from the book of Psalms.
Sure.
Yes, this is in the Ma'ariv prayer, you're right. Chapter 4 is basically speaks about the last line in chapter 4. If you read it, the last line of chapter 4, you don't have to turn the page. In peace and harmony, I will be laid down and sleep. It's again about going to sleep.
All alone in security.
Now we go to chapter 5, speaks about waking up in the morning. Want to read, please?
For the conductor on the Nichalot, a psalm by David. Give ear to my words, O Lord, consider my thoughts. Listen to the voice of my cry, my King and my God, for to you I pray. Lord, hear my voice in the morning. In the morning I set my prayers before you in hope.
That's what we know, that in the morning we have to listen, speak to God. And hear my voice in the morning when I pray to you. Continue.
For you are not a God who desires wickedness. Evil does not abide with you. The boastful cannot stand before your eyes. You hate all evildoers. You destroy the speakers of falsehood. The Lord despises the man of blood and deceit. And I, through your abundant kindness, come into your house. I bow toward your holy sanctuary in awe of you.
Number 8 is a prayer that we say in the prayer book every morning. ואני ברוב חסדך ובוא בתיך אשתח ולך קודשך בירתך.
It's right after
Right.
the
מה טובו?
mitzvah of fulfilling the mitzvah,
Yeah.
number 12.
When you put on when you
Number 12, I think.
number 12. Yeah, we say it after Matovo Alecha Yaakov Mishkantecha. Right when we start the morning prayer. That's in the second line. We say Matovo Alecha Yaakov. That comes from the book of that's Moses said. Who said Matovo? Not Moses actually. Who said it? Bilam. Bilam. And the next slide is the quote from King David that I'm with my kindness I come to your house
Bow down.
I bow down, exactly. Go ahead.
Lead me, O Lord, in your righteousness because of my watchful enemies. Straighten your path before me. For there is no sincerity in their mouths. Their heart is treacherous. Their throat is an open grave, though their tongue flatters. Find them guilty, O God. Let them fall by their schemes. Banish them for their many sins, for they have rebelled against you. But all who trust in you will rejoice. They will sing joyously forever. You will shelter them, and those who love your name will exalt in you. For you, Lord, will bless the righteous one. You will envelop him with favor as with a shield.
The next prayer, go ahead.
His enemies are both external and internal, I'm presuming.
Obviously,
here?
yes. I mean, King David had a lot of enemies. If anybody says in one of the book of Psalms, he said one of the chapters, he says, I have as many enemies as the ear in my head. Now, I believe he had a lot of enemies, but even if he had very few, it still was a lot of enemies. Page 11, chapter 6 is it's written here. It's important to read sometimes. You see the little notes in top? You want to read it? The little note in top first. This is
an awe-inspiring prayer for one who is ill.
one who is ill. Somebody who is sick should pray this prayer. Go ahead to pray.
To pray that God heal him, body and soul. An ailing person who offers this prayer devoutly and with a broken heart is assured that God will accept his prayer.
Then there is a prayer for the sick. Let's read what's written there. For the conductor.
With instrumental music for the 8-stringed harp, a psalm by David. Lord, do not punish me in your anger, nor chastise me in your wrath. Be gracious to me, O Lord, for I languish away. Heal me, O Lord, for my bones tremble in fear.
Refo'eni Hashem. Cure me. That's for curing. If you realize it started in Hebrew, I don't know how they translate it, for the 8-string harp, right? When you open the prayer book in the Amida, there is one blessing for cure, right? In the weekday Amida. Which number of blessing is it?
Must be 8.
Number 8. That's the link. It says for the 8 is Alashminis. because the prayer for curing is in the eighth prayer, the eighth blessing in the Amidah. Continue.
My soul is panic stricken, and you, O Lord, how long before you help? Relent, O Lord, deliver my soul, save me for the sake of your kindness. For there is no remembrance of you in death. Who will praise you in the grave?
He said the human being is turning to God and says, what good is doing from a person who dies? He cannot praise you, he cannot remember you. When you're alive, he can do good. Go ahead.
You know, this expression of you can't praise in the grave, there's another expression in Sheol, there are no people who
Yeah,
praise
the
or
same.
whatever.
It's the same idea. Yes.
There are those who take
The
a look.
Sheol. This is it. Sheol.
Maybe it's in.
Look in the Hebrew side.
Okay.
Sheol miyod elach. In Sheol, yes.
If that's true, I mean, we know that at least in terms of the world to come or afterlife, or whatever it happens to be, there are a lot of concepts about, people do live in God's presence and what have you. This would seem to indicate the opposite of that.
That's you don't. Olam haba is for the neshama. The body, we don't go to a cemetery. We don't wear tzitzis or tefillin. We don't show the tzitzis. Why? Because the people, the dead, cannot do mitzvahs, and therefore we don't want to insult them, so to speak, out of sensitivity to them.
So this is praise through speech, which you can only do while you're
Exactly.
alive. Okay.
You can only do good while you're alive. Exactly. It does mean that your soul is not connected to God, but to praise God in this world, to recognize God here, it's only when you're alive. Go ahead.
I am weary from sighing. Each night I drench my bed, I melt my couch with my tears. My eye has grown dim from vexation, worn out by all my oppressors. Depart from me, all you evildoers, for the Lord has heard the sound of my weeping. The Lord has heard my supplication, the Lord accepts my prayer. All my enemies will be shamed and utterly terrified. They will then repent and be shamed for a moment.
Okay, now we'll go to page 13, to number 8. Because there is a very important few lines there that will be very useful. Number 8.
Sheep and cattle.
Well, first of all, let's read 1 second. Okay, you can start the text. For the conductor, no, page 13.
For the conductor, on the Gittit, a psalm by David. Lord our Master, how mighty is your name throughout the earth. You who has set your majesty upon the heavens, out of the mouths of babes and sucklings.
The Talmud, first of all, tells a whole story about this line. Talmud tells us when Moses came up to heaven and he wanted to take the Torah, he went up on Mount Sinai, that the angels asked God, you know what they quoted from the book of Psalms? Give you, set your majesty upon the heavens. Give the Torah to the heavens. Give the Torah to the angels. No oitcha l'shamayim. Then the angels told them, then Hashem told Moses, Reb Moshe, you better give them an answer. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I give them an answer, they will burn me. Angels. God told them, hold my throne, and don't be afraid, give them an answer. But Moses told them, what's written in the Torah? Honor your father and mother. You have a father and mother. What's written in the Torah? Don't kill, don't steal. Anybody there stealing and killing in heaven? Basically, the old Torah is only useful, is only given for human being. Yeah, angels can learn Torah, but observing, where is the challenge of the Torah? The challenge of living a life according to the Torah is for human beings. Angels do not have such problems. That what the Medrash is using, that the angels argued, is set your majesty upon the heavens. Give your wisdom in the heavens, the Torah in the heavens. Then he says in number 3,
Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings you have established might to counter your enemies, to silence foe and avenger.
This is a very, very important line. Out of the mouths of the babes, of babies, basically, and suckling means nursing children, right? What suckling means in English?
Nurse.
Nursing.
Yeah.
Yonkim, or lelim means babies, and yonkim means nursing babies. You established might to counter the enemies, to silence foes and avengers. It's unbelievable. What's the strength of the Jews? To counter enemies, not armies, not tanks, not airplanes. For sure you have to do it through airplanes and tanks. But the strength of the Jewish people to counter all our enemies is taking babies and teaching them Torah. That's the strength of the Jewish people. And that was always the strength of the Jewish people. A community that had Jewish day schools survived. And a community that did not have Jewish day schools didn't survive as a Jewish community. In Russia, in the worst times of the communism, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe came once. He went to Moscow from St. Petersburg, and he gave a whole speech based on this line. Said that it's better to throw ourselves in fire than not to teach our children Torah. And because of this speech, he was arrested a few months later. And this is when, a few months before Yom Kippur War, Yom Kippur War broke out in Yom Kippur of 1973. A month before, suddenly it comes orders from the Rebbe to collect all Jewish children in Israel and to take them to the wall to pray. And the Rebbe quoted this line, that the power of Jewish children will defeat the enemies. Israel was at that time, anybody who knows what happened, what led to the Yom Kippur War, after a 6-day war, Israel was in a state of euphoria. We won the war. We conquered the war. Everybody was Israel. They're strong. They're Hefremans. They're this. They're that. Nobody even dreamed it's going to be a war. Even when it came messages and they had signs, no, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. And the Rebbe sends one day. I remember as a child going. I was on a trip. Instead of being in school, going to Jerusalem, we praying, coming back. 2 weeks later, again and again, and every time he's quoting this line. To fight our enemies. With babies and mipi olelim v'yonkim, because of babies and sucklings, we will fight our enemies, to counter our enemies in our force, silent our force. Nobody knew what he wanted. And it's again and again. First of all, it's money and it's a headache, and people have to stop their works and their life. And you mess up your whole day, your whole head of schedule. People go to school and I go to work. Everything stops. And he said in all over the world, he was driving all his Hasidim, bring children. And then when the war started, he said that I had a push to do it, and I didn't know why. And he said that because of this, from now on, whenever he has a urge to do something, he will do it. Because he sees that his urges are correct. And that was based on this line. And whenever that's why whenever there is a war in Israel, we always make a children prayer, not just adults. Why children? Because the prayer of children, because they do not have any sins, that their prayer go up straight to heaven. They are pure. They are just were born. Their neshomas are just came about. We are here for a long time. We became so many layers of garbage, so much dust on the souls. Children, this is pure. Their prayers are being answered. You read this in the story of Mordechai and Esther, right? The story of Mordechai, in the story of the Megillah, the Jewish people, what Mordechai did, who he collected to save the Jewish people, 22,000 Jewish children. And that's, according to the Medrash, that's what break through what turn things around. At the children, the Jewish children, not the adults. And therefore, whenever there is somebody sick in a Jewish community, it's a custom, you go to a day school, you give a donation, and you ask that the children should say a prayer for you, for this and this person. And the children stopped the learning. When I was a kid, was very often, not a bad idea anyway. We need a break a little bit. The teacher is driving us crazy with the Gemara, and he doesn't understand what he's teaching, we don't understand what he wants. And it's hot, and it's fine. The late day looks like long, like it's never going to end. How is it when you sit in a classroom in a chat? And you break the desk, we're going to say, so this and this person, we had no idea who it is, we tell us the name, we pray for him. Because prayers of children has very strong powers in Judaism. And the Talmud says about it, that one rabbi told the other, these prayers that are stronger than us, he says, in my house is nothing. He says, this is a prayer from kids who do not have any sins. That's why their prayer is so powerful, much more than us. And that's all written in this line. And then he says in number 5, okay, number 4, you know who read this chapter in A Modern History? Who read this chapter? No?
Abraham
Somebody
Lincoln.
very famous. Abraham Lincoln, no.
Neil
Somebody
Armstrong?
very good.
Who was-
Tell him.
Neil Armstrong.
I was gonna-
Neil Armstrong read the whole
Yeah,
chapter when he made it to the moon. From there, he read the book of Psalms, chapter from Psalms.
I didn't know.
That's sanctifying God's name.
When did
It
he-
was all voted, he should go to the moon, that the whole world should hear it's the only good thing we got out of the moon. What do we got out of the moon? Nothing. There is nothing there, we nothing found there. And still by today, that's why nobody is ever going to the moon again, because there is nothing there. It's a waste of money. The only good thing that came out on the trip to the moon, that the whole world heard them reading this chapter. Read number 4, when I behold your heavens,
When I behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place. What is man that you should remember him? Son of man that you should be mindful of him?
you see what's going on here? What is man that you should remember him? We say it in the prayers of Rosh Hashanah. Then that God remembers us is a kindness of God. Because normally he doesn't have to remember us. What is man compared to God? Go ahead. Yet,
Yet you have made him but a little less than the angels, and crowned him with honor and glory. You made him ruler over your handiwork. You placed everything under his feet, sheep and cattle, all of them, also the beasts of the field, the birds of the sky, and the fish of the sea, all that traverse the paths of the seas. Lord our Master, how mighty is your name throughout the earth.
then on one hand, we say, what is man? And look what God made for man. Because really, why should man be mattering to God altogether? God chose that human beings should matter to him. And that's how lucky we are.
Question for you about line 6. You
Yeah.
have made him but a little less than the Elohim, is the Hebrew.
Yes, they
And
translated to
some
angel.
translations use God, some use angels. Is there a preference for angels here, and if so, why?
Listen, they translated here angels. In Hebrew, it's more Trasrei Umat Melekim. I think it's talking about Rashi or the Talmud says it's talking about Moses, that he was a little less than the ultimate. He reached like the highest that a human being can reach. He reached the 49 levels. Me'at Melekim, I think Trasrei Umat Melekim, that's Moses. A little less than God, so to speak, not than angels. Or maybe also that he's almost like an angel. Moses was able to 40 days and 40 nights not to eat and not to drink.
But here it's talking about creation of human beings in general. A little bit lower than whether it's angels or God. Obviously, there's a
The
gap
idea
there.
is that we are like God, that we have free choice, and that's why we are like God. We are in the image of God. And God made us very close to Him. Yes,
So do angels have free choice based upon
no,
this?
No,
No,
give
angels
him
don't.
one mission.
that's why the better translation probably would be God. We are more than angels. We can go higher and higher. Angels are just messengers of God. They cannot choose their job, cannot do whatever they want. We'll skip a few chapters. There's quite a few a little bit not so optimistic, but
I just have one thing to mention that
Yes.
question going back to 6 when it talks about melting my tears melt the couch with tears and
yes.
It's just kind of like expression, like poetry a little bit.
It's poetry, but it was real about him.
Well, you're not melting your couch, getting it wet.
That's what he meant. No? Let's go to page 19, chapter 15. A Psalm by David. Chapter 15, page 19, chapter 15. Page 19, chapter
A
15.
psalm by David. Who may abide in your tent, O Lord, and who may dwell on your holy mountain? He who walks blamelessly, acts justly, and speaks truth in his heart, who has no slander on his tongue, who has done his fellow man no evil, and has brought no disgrace upon his relative, in whose eyes a despicable person is abhorrent, but who honors those who are God-fearing, who does not change his oath even if it's to his own detriment, who does not lend money at interest nor accept a bribe against the innocent.
That's usually, you know, when you read it? In funerals. To say, oh, this person was so righteous and so good, that's where you read it. Go ahead, continue. Finished?
He who does these things shall never falter.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be in God's tent or to dwell on his mountain?
Dwell in his mountain, it's mean, Ar Hashem means one of the, according to Kabbalah, it means to have love of God. Dwell in his mountain, in his tent means to learn Torah. The tent of Jacob, to be under his tent, that means to learn Torah. But mountain of Hashem, according to Kabbalah, means to have love of Hashem. To go up, to climb the mountain. Let's go to page 24, number 19. This is a prayer that we say every time, and on Shabbos we say it. In the bottom of the page, chapter 19, page 24,
Page
chapter
20,
19.
page 24.
For the
the
choir
conductor,
master.
a psalm by David. The heavens recount the glory of the Almighty. The sky proclaims his handiwork. Day to day speech streams forth. Night to night expresses knowledge. There is no utterance, there are no words, their voice is inaudible. Their arc extends throughout the world, their message to the end of the earth. He set in them the heavens, a tent for the sun, which is like the groom coming forth from his bridal canopy, like a strong man rejoicing to run the course. Its rising is at one end of the heavens, and its orbit encompasses the other ends. Nothing is hidden from its heart. Heat. The Torah of the Lord is perfect, restoring the soul.
Now you start to speak about the Torah. The Torah of the Lord is perfect. Go ahead.
Restoring the soul.
Restoring the soul means brings you life, brings you excitement.
The testimony of the Lord is trustworthy, making wise the simpleton.
Mhm.
The precepts of the Lord are just, rejoice in the heart. The command of the Lord is clear, enlightening the eyes.
That means to say the precept of the Torah are rejoicing. To learn Torah is an enjoyable experience. That's why it's written that during Shiva you're not allowed to learn Torah, only certain things, because it brings you joy. Continue.
The fear of the Lord is pure, abiding forever. The judgments of the Lord are true. They are all righteous together. They are more desirable than gold, than much fine gold, sweeter than honey or the drippings of honeycomb. Indeed, your servant is scrupulous with them. In observing them, there is an abundant reward. Yet who can discern inadvertent wrongs? Purge me of hidden sins. Also hold back your servant from willful sins. Let them not prevail over me. Then I will be unblemished and keep myself clean of gross transgression. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable before you, Lord, my strength and my Redeemer.
Okay. Now, chapter 20 is a chapter that we say when anytime somebody is sick, look in the line there, in the title of the line. If a loved one is or relative is suffering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even in a distant place, where one is unable to help, offer this prayer on their behalf. Chapter 20 became the chapter that always Jewish people pray when somebody is sick. Let's read it.
For the conductor, a psalm by David. May the Lord answer you on the day of distress. May the name of the God of Jacob fortify you. May he send your help from the sanctuary and support you from Zion. May he remember all your offerings and always accept favorably your sacrifices. May he grant your heart's desire and fulfill your every counsel. We will rejoice in your deliverance and raise our banners in the name of our God. May the Lord fulfill all your wishes. Now I know that the Lord has delivered his anointed one, answering him for his holy heavens with the mighty saving power of his right hand. Some rely upon chariots and some upon horses, but we rely upon and invoke the name of the Lord our God. They bend and fall, but we rise and stand firm. Lord, deliver us. May the King answer us on the day we call.
Then this is for some, probably because of the beginning of in the day of distress, and also because God answers our prayers. This became traditionally the prayer that we do every time when somebody is suffering. Now I want to go to chapter 23, the most famous chapter. You ever heard about Nathan Sharansky? Nathan Sharansky was a refusenik. He was from the what is called Asir Tzion. It's called he was trying to go to Israel.
Right.
The refuseniks, yeah. Then and he was before he was arrested. He met his wife, and he married his wife before she got the permission to leave Russia. And he said, I'll marry her, and then they will be forced to give me a permit to leave Russia too. And lo and behold, they were not too impressed by this, the Russians. And they put him in jail. A few days before he went to jail, his wife, his fresh, newly bride, gave him a book of Psalms. Fine. When he was in jail, they took away from him the book of Psalms. And he suffered. He was 3 years in jail. One day, these monsters, they knew how to manipulate people, unbelievable. One day the jail and walks in, one of the guys there tells him, I have something for you and I have some bad news for you. What's the bad news? Your father died. He said it broke him completely. For 2 days he was sitting in the cell and he couldn't move. The 3rd day he started to open the book of Psalms. And he knew already a little Hebrew at that time. He taught himself Hebrew. He started to read it, and it gave him some strength. And because it was very small, it was a small book of Psalms, he started to rewrite the book of Psalms to himself in Hebrew, in big, and then in translation in Russian. And he says that gave him so much strength. For 40 days he was busy with his job, and he found unbelievable amount of strength in this job. Then they took it away from him, these mountains. That he made a strike, he's not going out to work. For every day he didn't go out to work, they put him in 15 days in solitary confinement. And then and he was like 100 days in solitary confinement. And then he was so sick he went to the hospital. And then they took him back. And he made another strike, he didn't give up. Another 86 days in solitary confinement. And he came back again. And finally he broke them, and they gave him back the book. And he continued to have the books, and because he was a very famous refusing, the whole world was speaking about him. And America interfered. I think Reagan was the one who really released him. And when he was about to leave, it was already reporters with pictures. They took away from him the prayer book, the Psalms. That he threw himself on the floor, it was snowing and everything. He said, I'm not leaving until you don't give it to me. That they give it to him, and he brought it. The only thing he brought to Israel was the book of Psalms. That he says that the chapter who gave him strength more than everything was chapter 23. And he says, Hashem Ro'i, the first word in the book of Psalms, in this chapter gave him the strength. Let's read this chapter.
A psalm by David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall lack nothing.
He says, the Lord is my shepherd. This is the word that gave him the most strength. Now, why is the word shepherd such a strong thing? There is a relationship that we have with God as like a king, right? A king in a subject, he doesn't really care too much about you, do whatever I tell you and finished. Then there is a closer relationship. We are married to God, husband and wife. Ani le dodi vedodi li. I'm married to God and God is married to me. That's already a closer relationship. But it's also, they have to love each other. Then there is a parent and a child. It's even stronger. A parent and a child is a natural love. But there is the natural love in the parents of a child relationship. When the child is a baby, it's unconditional love. When he's 43 years old, it's a conditional love. If you behave, good, and if not, I'll throw you out of the house. Don't be an idiot, right? What's a shepherd? The flock who goes after the shepherd have 100% trust in the shepherd. They know nothing. Whatever the shepherd takes them, they go. That's what he say here. Hashem Ro'i. God is our shepherd means that we have no worries whatsoever. We have trust in God. Whatever the shepherd takes me, I go. I don't care for anything. Let's just read this chapter and we'll continue that.
He revives my soul. He directs me in the path of righteousness for the sake of his name. Though I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me.
He called this book, he wrote later a book, a memoirs, he called it I Will Fear No Evil. Lo Irara. That's the name of the book. Go ahead.
The Valley of the Shadow of Death here is it's
It's
used
not
at funerals all the
yeah,
time.
it's not, but
obviously.
it's nothing to do with funerals. A shadow of death is when we are alive.
Exactly.
When we are dead,
You're,
there's no
you're
shadow.
endangered of the Valley of the Shadow
Exactly,
of Death.
exactly.
Your rod and your staff, they will comfort me. You will prepare a table for me before my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup is full. Only goodness and kindness shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord
In
for many long
Hebrew,
years.
all the goodness and kindness will follow me. It's not written follow me. Irdefuni. They will pursue me. The good things will run after me. And I will sit in the house of the Lord forever.
For many